Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, YouTube. It depends on what time you are clicking on this video or where you are in the world. Here in Wisconsin is about 9:15 p.m. on a Saturday night. It's been a long day, but I wanted to do a video to answer some questions several of my friends and colleagues have been asking me. Before I get started, I want to say thank you for those of you who are new to this channel. I am actually documenting my experiences of writing my memoir, so you're following me on that journey. For those of you who are subscribers and have been here often, thank you. I have 107 subscribers in less than a month, so I definitely appreciate your support. If you hear something in this video that you like, please like the video. If you have questions or comments about the video, please ask your questions. Please post your comments. If you hear something that piques your interest and you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. All right, so we'll get started. The three things I'm going to talk about in this video are the records I have requested from the state of Michigan. I'm going to talk about interviews, the ones that I have done and those that I plan to do. And I'm going to talk about the supports and resources I'm using to actually write my memoir. All right. So as I stated in one of my videos early on, I tried to request my records from the state of Michigan in regards to my Child Protective Services case. I spent over half of my childhood in foster care, and I really wanted to get those records so I can document authentically the events of things that happened in my life during my foster care placements and things of that nature. Unfortunately, after your case closes, with that 20th year after your case closed, your CPS records are destroyed. So my CPS records were destroyed about 7 years ago. So I don't have any access to my Child Protective Service records, nor will I be able to get access to them. That was very disheartening, but we have to move on, right? The other thing I requested was records from Inkster Public Schools. That's the district where I did 8th grade and all of my high school. I did get those records. I actually did a video of me opening my high school transcript. I will post the link to that video in the description box so you can actually see me opening my high school transcript. That was really interesting, just seeing the teachers that I had as a high school student. One thing I also realized in my records after I posted that video is that I was referred for special education in 8th grade. The reason I was referred for special education was for academic and behavior issues. And I thought that was interesting because when I looked deeper at my records, this would have been the third foster placement I'd had within several months, and also the 5th school I had attended that school year. So it was April of my 8th grade year, and I was actually referred for special education. I don't think I qualified for special education because I didn't have any special education classes in high school. But I did think it was interesting. I was referred for special education. I'm a special ed teacher. I was a special ed teacher. I taught high school. I have a PhD in special education. And then I became a professor of special education. So I taught those who were interested in being special ed teachers, social workers, speech pathologists, so I had all type of majors in my classes at the current university I work at. So I just thought it was interesting that I was referred for special ed because I am a special educator. That's all I've ever done. Another thing I submitted requests for were my records from Detroit Public Schools. I did spend most of my schooling in Detroit Public Schools, so kindergarten through most of 8th grade. And I submitted that request about 3 weeks ago. I followed up with Detroit Public Schools last week. I called and I was told that I requested my records probably right before they broke for semester winter break. And so my 10th day, the 10th day of me I should get my records will be on the 13th. They said if I don't have my records emailed by the 13th to give them a call back. So hopefully I'll get those records this week. Another thing I submitted a request to the state of Michigan for was criminal records for one of my family members. I did get those, and I have used those records to write about certain sections of my memoir. So I do have those records and have utilized those at this point. And the last thing I submitted a request for was my brother's death certificate. So I had a twin brother. He is deceased, and I need information about the situation surrounding his death. I did submit a request for his death certificate about a month ago. The check was cashed. I wrote a personal check, and the state of Michigan did cash that check. I called about a week or so ago to ask about when I would receive the record. I said, hey, you cashed my check 2 weeks ago. When would I get my brother's death certificate? And they said maybe another 3 to 4 weeks. So hopefully I will have that sooner than later, and I can really use that information to fill in the sections of my memoir that I need that information for, but to just really have some answers about my brother's death. So those are all the updates about records. Now I'm going to talk about interviews. So I did do an interview with my childhood best friend. We were friends all through elementary school, and then she disappeared after elementary school. And when I wrote about her in my memoir, I just wrote, she just disappeared. So I was able to interview her. I connected with her on Facebook. She agreed to interview. I interviewed her, and she was able to answer a lot of questions that I had. And so now I don't just have in my memoir, she just disappeared. I have the answer to what happened to her. So I will post a link to that video as well in the description of this video. So you will have that if you want to watch that. I also interviewed my mother. That's the most recent video I posted, is the interview with my mother. And I am indebted to my mother for this interview. It took about 3 hours. We had 2 separate recordings. We took a break, but I was asking her to relive a lot of painful things that happened in her childhood, but also things that happened in regards to her raising me in her life. And this memoir would not be what it is without her input and her being willing to share different things with me. And so I'm indebted to her for that. So I did that interview. And it's interesting, I actually interviewed my god brother, and it was kind of like an impromptu interview. But I was able to get some information from him in regards to when my mother first got me back out of foster care when I was 4 years old. We lived with my god brother and my godmother and my god sister. And he talked about some of the things he remembered about me when I was 4 years old. So I thought that was pretty neat to have that. It was really like an impromptu interview, but I'm using that information anyway. And the last person I plan to interview is my ex-husband. I got married at 18. And so he's a really good person to interview because he's known me a very long time. And we have 3 children together. So I do plan to interview him pretty soon, probably within the next couple weeks. And now the last thing I'm going to talk about are some of the supports and resources I'm using to write my memoir. As I've stated a few minutes ago, I am an academic. I'm a professor who turned university administrator. So I'm not used to writing nonfiction. I'm used to writing up research findings or papers about universities and students and how to teach and things of that nature. So writing a memoir has been a serious learning curve for me. So I've been doing my research. And one thing I've learned with doing this research is that when you're writing a memoir, you need to read other people's memoirs. Common sense, right? So one memoir I've read recently is a memoir by one of my buddies, Caitlyn Mondo. We're actually newer friends. I met her this past summer when I moved to the city I live now, but she hired my son to do some basketball coaching with her son, and we would just sit at the pool and talk about life and things that were going on. And she said, I'm writing a memoir. And so she talked about this memoir. She talked about her family. And when the memoir was available, I did a pre-order on Amazon, and I got it. If you like history, especially Wisconsin history, this is a really neat read. I actually read this book on the plane, on a flight. I think it was a 3-hour flight, but it was done. So a really good book. She really inspired me because after I read her memoir, I was like, I can do this. If she could do this, I can do this. So she really inspired me. Another memoir that I have recently used as a resource is This one called A Piece of Cake is by a lady by the name of Cupcake Brown. She's actually a lawyer, but she had a life of foster care, drug abuse, prostitution, you name it. And she came through. So a really amazing book. So if you're interested in something like that, one thing I found doing my research is that if you are writing a memoir, you need to find someone who's written something similar to what you're writing. And so one of my good buddies actually recommended this book, and so I'm glad she did, because it did give me some input on what to do and how to say certain things. And this actually is not a memoir, but it's an article by Viola Davis. One of my neighbors sent this down the street to me. My son was outside, and she said, "Get this to your mom." And she had it in an envelope, and she wrote on an envelope, she said, "I'm enjoying your YouTube channel. I can't wait to read your memoir." And she was like, "Here's an article I think you might really like." And it's about Viola Davis. It's about her childhood, growing up in poverty, and also having a parent who was an alcoholic, and just some of the things she experienced as a child. So very inspirational as well. So more formal resources I'm using is this book here. It's called The Art of Memoir. And so this lady name is Mary Carr, and she's actually a faculty member, and she teaches, English and memoir at a university. And she actually shares different snippets of memoirs, really famous memoirs, and kind of takes us through how these people use their writing to really provide description. So when a person reads your memoir, you want them to hear, see, and feel what you're talking about. And so she does a really good job of giving us examples of how to do that, because remember, I'm not a nonfiction writer. And then the last resource I've used is this page here. I'm on a Facebook group for people writing memoirs, and someone shared this, and it's 6 steps to begin to write your memoir. So a really neat resource. So I just want to share a video to talk about, what I'm using as a resource as I write my memoir. I want to update you on the various records I had submitted, and also want to update you on my interview process and how that's went. Several people have just been asking me questions via Facebook or Instagram, and I said, well, let me just post a video. So if you have questions or comments, please post your questions or your comments. If you have ideas about upcoming videos, give me some suggestions about things you want me to talk about. What are some things you want to hear about this experience? I am really planning my next video right now, and I want my next video to be on the topic of sexual abuse and molestation. This is something that really needs to be talked about, and so I'm in a space where I really want to talk about this. So the next video I post will be on molestation and sexual abuse, and it will be some very sensitive information in this video. So I'm gonna warn you about that, just in case you have teenagers watching. I know I do have one person who have foster children, and they have their foster children watching this channel, and so just so you'll know, it will be some sensitive material in my next video. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourself. Stay safe and well. Bye-bye.